Hello, my name is Douglas Bloch. I'm an author, counselor, and depression survivor. Welcome to your Depression Recovery channel, where each week we talk about practical tools and coping strategies for healing from depression and anxiety. Today I'm going to continue with my series called Back from the Brink, where I interview people who have been through depression, come out the other side, and they share with us what worked and how they're maintaining their recovery. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to interview someone who's not only dealt with depression, but also addiction, and we call this in mental health dual diagnosis. And as you can imagine, dealing with depression and addiction or alcoholism is really doubly difficult, but our guest today is more than up to the task. Let me introduce Anne.
Hi.
A stellar member of my Tuesday support group.
Good to be here.
Been with us about a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And so nice of you to volunteer your time.
Of course. Absolutely.
So first of all, let's start out with your official or unofficial diagnosis. I think you have bipolar 2.
Bipolar 2, yes.
Which for the viewers means someone who's manic depressive, but while they go deep into the depression, when they get manic or high, it's a moderate high, not a super high.
That's correct, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
the depression is the hard part.
And depression is really the hard part for you. So when did you first experience depression in your life? Early on, was there a trigger, and how did that get started?
Well, in high school, I used to have panic attacks. They were frightening, and I didn't know what they were. And when I finally found out what they were, I started seeing a psychologist. And the panic attacks were so severe that I started avoiding things, and which made me kind of feel depressed, and it just spiraled. And I also recall many times in childhood being so hyper that I could not contain myself. It would come out of the blue, last like a couple days, but I never thought much of it, and was diagnosed probably about 9 years ago at the hospital. So,
with panic disorder?
With bipolar 2.
But what about the anxiety you talked about at the beginning? Wasn't that part of your diagnosis?
That is true, that as well. But it was kind of that led into the path of finding out I was bipolar as well.
Okay.
And they go together wonderfully.
By the way, does anxiety or depression or panic disorder run in your family at all? Any of your relatives? Because I know your parents seem pretty healthy from what I've gathered. Yeah,
my parents are very happy people, seem to have great mental health. There's depression in my family though.
Okay. Siblings, definitely. Aunts, uncles, whatever.
My brother, aunt, uncle. Yeah, a lot of people have dealt with it.
So when you're finally diagnosed with bipolar at the hospital, how old were you, and what did you start doing in terms of treatment? Did you try medication? Did you try therapy, etc.? Yeah.
Well, let's see. How old was I? Probably about 28 maybe when I got the actual diagnosis. And it seemed to really fit and make sense, because I had tried lots of antidepressants for depression and they never really seemed to help. And when they diagnosed me, they put me on mood stabilizers. And that's when I started seeing some major improvements, especially with Lamictal.
Right, which you're on now.
Yeah.
Which is what I take.
Yeah. It's been very helpful.
Did you see a therapist at the time also?
I did, yes, I did.
Okay.
And we had a great rapport and went well. But I think it was the medications that really stabilized me.
But since that time, I noticed you have had, I don't know if you want to call them relapses, but when you start out in the group, you would be okay for a couple of months, and then you'd go into the severe dip for like 3 or 4 days where you were completely unable to function. You had to miss work, cost you a couple of jobs, and it was really scary because you just plummeted into the pit for no reason whatsoever.
Absolutely. There's never a reason. It's out of the clear blue sky. Could be wonderful day, wonderful week, and everything's going well, relationships going well, finances are great, and then and it's not just depression, it's intense fear, and then it's accompanied by shame about what's going on with me. And but you're right, I did have them, and I was having them during your group too. And they have gotten better. I believe it's a little bit due to an increase in Lexapro.
Right, so that's the point I wanted. So even though you're bipolar, there's some people say, if you're bipolar, you should never take antidepressants, but you took Lexapro, and instead of making you manic, it actually helped.
Absolutely.
And also you've been on Ritalin also, which also helps with motivation and energy and focus.
Absolutely.
Which a couple of people in my Monday group have been on that. I know a lot of people say, oh no, those are for ADHD people, but more and more psychiatrists are using things like Ritalin and Adderall for people with depression.
Absolutely. Just a small dose, and it really it just helps with those two
Right,
things.
right. Now,
Absolutely.
the reason I had you on here specifically is because you've also been dealing with another demon,
Yeah.
and that is alcoholism. And I think you're, what, 4 years or 4 years clean and
About
sober?
4.5 years.
Right.
in
And so
September.
do you think having depression was part of your getting into alcohol as a coping mechanism like some people, or was it unrelated and you just found you like drinking and, you know, it just made you happy or whatever?
Well, I have a clear answer to that. I believe it's because I'm an alcoholic, and it wasn't to relieve anything. Once I got a taste for it, I thought that was the solution to just, I'm like, I can't imagine not feeling like this. This is what I'm supposed to feel like and wired to do. And then it just completely took over my life immediately. So it progressed very fast for about 9 years.
9 years, wow.
Yeah.
Were you able to function during that time? And because I know a lot of alcoholics, unlike depressives, can function, hold jobs, function. When a person gets really depressed, they're in bed. And that's why in some ways, you know, depression is more insidious than alcoholism, because it really in some ways is more disabling, even though you know, people die of alcoholism, obviously horrible for your body.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Gosh, they kind of went together a little bit, but I was able to function. That was a part of the denial that I was in. I thought since I could hold a job and go to school, get a graduate degree, that I thought that that would mean I'm not an alcoholic, because I got it together, and sometimes I'd trick myself. I'd wait till 5 o'clock to drink, and I'd justify that as being normal, but it crept up on me where it was all day. I mean, it was really bad.
So you're stopping drinking. What was, you know, they say sometimes alcoholics have to hit bottom.
Yeah.
Did you hit bottom one day, say, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired? Did you go to an AE meeting? Or, I mean, that's what I hear a lot, but what was your path? My
bottom was 2 different instances, and people might not consider this to be a very low bottom, but one was a Christmas morning. I was with my family, and it was about 7 a.m., and we were taking family pictures, and my brother turned to me and he said, "Have you been drinking this morning?" And I had at 7 a.m., and the fact that he was starting to find out just shamed me like crazy, and I just had hidden it so well from my family. And another time was, really quickly, I was in class in grad school, and my good friend wrote me a note and said, "You smell like beer." And it was 9 a.m. and I had planned to talk to the professor that day, and thank God I didn't. And I had to leave the class. I was so ashamed. And that was...
So you need help. So it's interesting because I just realized that keeping sober is because you're going to AA meetings. And keeping out of depression is because you're going to our group.
Yeah, that's correct.
And you mentioned earlier that you had been hospitalized in the past, but since you started this group in the middle of 2016, you've not been hospitalized since.
That's correct, yeah.
So you're working on 2 parallel fronts, both involving community and connection, which has been my, you know, passion here in this channel, and my books and my groups, and that you know, this is a major healing part of depression. And addiction.
Absolutely.
And that's how AA was formed in 1935 when Bill W. and Bob Smith got together one night. I've shown that scene from
movie.
My Name is Bill W., the wonderful movie with James Woods, where they, you know, Bill W. says, "I didn't come here to help you, I came here to help me." And they formed this partnership, and they stayed clean and sober.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you're using community to help your depression, and you avoid depression. You're helping community, using community to stay clean and sober.
That's totally right. It's the people that really make it happen.
Right.
Yeah, and helping others.
Helping others, service work. Just the one we had before here, Carolyn is a psychiatric nurse and found that working in a home with the elderly and is her way of having purpose and meaning, which keeps her out of depression.
Absolutely. And my sponsor told me one time when I said that I'm not always in the mood to go to meetings, she said it's not always about what you get out of them, it's about what you give. And that stuck with me. Like, maybe I have a message I can share rather than what I hear, and helps me coming back. Yeah.
And what would you say would be the important things about the group you're in, our Tuesday support group? But wouldn't you say that it's also about giving and receiving? I mean, you've
Yeah.
You're so good about texting people who are much more isolated than you are. You're very fortunate. You're gregarious. You're living with a really nice guy. You've got your parent support. But some people in our groups are just like this new person, just by themselves. And you're very good at reaching out and making sure you're connected with them and helping them feel less alone.
Yeah, absolutely. This group I've made so many friends, and not only are they friends, but they're supports. And at first it was hard to reach out to them, but now it's because you get comfortable with the group. It's not hard to pick up the phone anymore. You know that they're there for you.
The 10,000-pound phone they talk about in AA.
Exactly.
So what are some final things you use to keep yourself both from drinking and from relapsing into depression? Of course, the Lexapro has been key.
Yeah.
And those bottoms, not coming as fiercely as they did.
Yeah.
But I know you're like myself and so many other people in the group. You're really into exercise, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fast walking, right?
Yes. Fast walking and music.
And music, right? Listening to music while you're fast walking.
Yeah.
And do you find you do that like at least 5-6 times a week, or 4 or 5 times a week?
4 or 5, I'd say.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you don't exercise, do you notice a difference?
Oh, when I don't? Yeah. Oh, totally. And I've noticed it takes about 20 minutes, and then I'm kind of stubborn the first 20 minutes if I'm not in the mood to exercise, but once I get past that, it starts feeling really good.
Right. Endorphins kick in.
Yeah.
Any other tools besides community and exercise? And of course, for you, I would say the medications are very helpful.
Yeah.
The Lexapro, the Lamictal, and the Ritalin. There are some people, we were talking about this, there are some people in AA who don't believe that a person in recovery from alcohol should take any drugs, because that's relapsing. I think your partner might have felt that once, but that's not true, because depression and alcoholism are distinctive diseases or disorders, and and there's no harm in using something that helps you feel better as long as it doesn't have the costs don't outweigh the benefits. So,
Absolutely.
So you're someone who's has no problem, even though you're a recovering alcoholic, also turning to drugs to help you with depression.
That's true. Yeah. And as far as the ones that are prescribed, if I'm going to take something that's a controlled substance, I tell my doctor that I'm an alcoholic, and just to let them know that, to be really open and honest with doctors. And but as far as things that have been helpful, in the really dark episodes, it's hard to do anything, but I haven't had one of those in quite a while. And I think it's because I have a better friend support from this group. I reach out to my parents immediately. I try to take action immediately in the morning when I feel horrible. I force myself into the shower, and I like to keep it really clean. The cleaner it is, the better I feel.
If you ever don't work in recovery, you can become a house cleaner. We've already discussed this.
But I take a very behavioral method, because that's where I get quick results. Because even if I feel horrible, if I can look back on the day and say, well, I did these things, I feel better about myself. And even though it's hard. And then I know from this group, I've learned that it will pass. It really doesn't feel like that sometimes, but this group has helped me realize that. Right. And absolutely. And
I did a video a couple of months ago, 4 words that can save your life: this too shall pass.
Nice. Yeah.
The only thing that's gotten me through not the only thing, but a major thing that's gotten me through the dark times. And guess what?
Yeah.
When people do wait and they're patient and they reach out for help, it does pass.
Yes.
And we have a lot of suicidal people we know who are alive because they did wait and they were able to hang in there.
Exactly. Totally. Powerful statement. Yeah.
Well, I wish you continued luck in your depression recovery, and I guess your sobriety is really dependent on your continuing to attend the AA meetings, right? That's correct. That's going to be something with you for, and in one other thing, there was another guy in the group who was drinking and smoking pot, and it wasn't out of control, but it was really interfering with his life. And then Anne sort of mentored him, got him into going to AA and MA meetings, Marijuana Anonymous. So now he's graduated from the group, doing quite well, and he owes you a world of thanks. So thank you for reaching out to your fellow depressed.
Oh yeah, of course.
Your fellow depressives.
Yeah.
So
he's doing the work though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Well, thank you for coming on and talking about both depression and alcoholism, and I'm glad that you're finding ways to deal with both, as are many people out there.
Yeah.
And so this has been Douglas Bloch. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned something from it. If you did so and you liked the video, give it a like. You can also email me, douglasbloch@gmail.com. If you'd like to subscribe to this video and see our wonderful upcoming interviews and other topics I talk about, just click on my photo on the screen. You'll be taken to the subscribe page. And if you want to help this channel grow and help me pay for the cost of the videos and doing everything else, you can click on the image of Patreon, which is a crowdfunding page. You'll be taken to my page. Anne has been very generous. She and her family have contributed. Thank you, Anne.
Of course.
And you can see for how for as little as $2 a month, you can become a member of this community. And until we meet again, I wish you the best in your mental health recovery. And for those of you who are struggling with addiction, I hope you continue to be clean and sober.
Nice.
As I'm sure you will be. Thank you very much.